Simon and Robin Calems, a young married couple who recently moved to California because Simon got a job here. They are looking for a new home, wanting to start fresh. After finding a house, the spouses went to a furniture store to buy some things. While Robin was choosing pillows, Simon waited for her at the checkout. Suddenly he was approached by a guy who introduced himself as Gordo Muesli. Simon didn't immediately recognize Gordo, who is his former classmate. They used to attend the same school. Simon suggested Gordo get together sometime and catch up since they hadn't seen each other in many years. The couple is settling into their new home. When Robin was taking out boxes and other junk to the trash, she met their new neighbors, Lucy and Ron. They have a child. Robin has also long dreamed of becoming a mother. The next morning, she found a bottle of wine with a bow on the doorstep. It was a gift from Gordo. The spouses wondered how he knew their address. Robin and Lucy became friends. Lucy is almost always at home, babysitting the little daughter while her husband is at work. Robin confessed that she was also pregnant last year, but it didn't go well. She and her husband are still not giving up on trying. When Simon was at work, Gordo visited their home. Robin thanked him for the gift. Gordo gave Robin a list of various repair services, as well as his phone number. Out of politeness, Robin invited him inside and showed him the house. Seeing children's toys, Gordo asked the inevitable question about whether they have kids. Robin replied that they only have a dog for now. Gordo stayed for dinner. By that time Simon had already returned from work. Gordo, who was drunk, admired his former classmate who had a good job and could afford a big house. Simon mentioned that he hadn't kept in touch with any of his classmates after school. He also whispered to his wife that there was no need to keep pouring wine for Gordo. Meanwhile, Gordo kept talking nonstop. When Simon asked him about his line of work, Gordo said he was a former military man. A lot had happened since then, both good and bad. Gordo proposed a toast to old and new friends. When he left, Simon helped his wife clean up the dirty dishes. Gordo seemed foolish to Simon, but Robin thought he was just socially awkward. Soon after, the spouses attended a corporate event at the company where Simon works. His colleagues asked Robin about her occupation. Simon answered for her that she was a very talented designer. Currently Robin works as a freelancer. Later, Simon showed the wife his office. Robin plans to start her own business, and Simon is fully supportive, believing it will be beneficial for her and help her to keep busy. Upon returning home after the party, the couple found another small gift from Gordon on their doorstep. Attached to the gift was a note, thanking them for dinner. Simon doesn't like that Gordo entered their private property without permission. He also remembered that in school, Gordo had a nickname, Weirdo. It seems like he hasn't changed much since then. Simon crossed out Gordo's name on the magnetic board on the fridge, labeling him as Weirdo. The next morning, Robin went for a run, and then saw Gordo again near their house. He was walking his dog nearby. Trying to be polite, Robin thanked him for the gift. Gordo clearly had no intention of leaving, and an awkward silence ensued. In the end Robin had no choice but to invite him in for tea. Gordo tuned in the TV. Robin hinted that it was time for her to get some work done. Gordo seemed to catch the hint and was about to leave. However, in the kitchen, he noticed his hurtful school nickname written in Simon's handwriting. In the evening, the couple had dinner with their neighbors and colleagues, discussing friendship. Robin genuinely felt guilt toward Gordo, as he seemed like a nice and kind guy. Simon, like everyone else, found it strange that a few hours after the departure, Gordo called and invited them to dinner. He was supposed to be offended. Despite everything, the spouses decided to accept the invitation. They were surprised to see a luxurious house. Gordo welcomed the guests and presented Simon with another small gift. When Simon inquired about his wife, Gordo replied that he's not married, without going into further details. Another couple was supposed to be present at the dinner, but they allegedly couldn't make it because they had no one to babysit their child. Suddenly Gordo received a phone call. After a brief conversation on the phone, Gordo said he needed to leave for 5 minutes for work. Simon can't believe that Gordo left them alone in his own house, considering that they are almost strangers. Neither Simon nor Robin have any idea where Gordo, being a former military man, currently works. This whole situation seems strange to Simon. Perhaps Gordo secretly has feelings for Robin, so he's finding any excuse to meet with them. Of course Robin doesn't take it seriously. Simon suggested exploring the house while Gordo was away. Upon seeing women's dresses in the closet, Simon wondered whose it was, given that Gordo is not married. There is also a children's room in the house. This seems doubly strange. Upon seeing headlights outside the window, the couple hurried downstairs to the living room, as if they had been there all along. Simon doesn't hide his curiosity and asks Gordo who he works to afford a house like this. Gordo confessed that they caught him lying. In reality, this house, like everything else, belongs to his wife, who received a huge inheritance. They have 2 children. They are currently going through a divorce, and the wife intends to prohibit Gordo from seeing the kids. Of course he will be left with nothing, including the house. As it turned out, Gordo wasn't going for work but to have a conversation with his wife. Understanding that he's a liar and a manipulator, Simon asked Robin to wait in the car while he was going to talk to Gordo. Simon asked him not to show up at their house anymore until he sorts out his issues. Robin stepped outside and locked eyes with Gordo, who was gazing out the window. She feels pity for him. When the couple was leaving, Gordo didn't immediately open the gate, as if playing games with them. Naturally, this pissed Simon off. At home, they tried to forget it, like a bad dream. Their life returned to its usual routine. Or so it seemed. Returning from her run, Robin discovered that all the fish in their pond, previously gifted by Gordo, had perished. It was likely that someone poisoned them. The couple's dog was also missing. Simon immediately realized that Gordo had done it, and immediately went to his place to confront him. But the door was opened by some married couple. That same evening, Simon and Robin called the police. Officers discovered that the house belonged to the Ryans, who owned a limousine rental company. Gordo was their chauffeur and had access to the garage. He apparently managed to enter the house while the Ryans were on vacation. Currently, Simon is only concerned about the whereabouts of their pet. He is convinced that Gordo took the dog. However, without a warrant, the police are powerless to do anything. Robin, who was taking the loss of the pet very hard, printed many flyers. Upon hearing strange sounds, she asked who was here. Simon was at work at the time. The faucet in the kitchen sink was open. Frightened, Robin went to the neighbors. Lucy was planning to go to the Colem's house and check if someone was really there. Using the neighbor's bathroom, Robin noticed sleeping pills on the shelf. Suffering from insomnia for a long time, Robin stole a few tablets and took it in the evening. However, it didn't help, and Robin still felt uneasy during the night. Hearing strange noises, she went downstairs to check what was wrong. Behind the door she saw their dog. The couple were happy that their pet had returned unharmed. Simon still believes that Gordo is involved in this. One day while Simon was at work, Robin, going through the mail, saw a letter from Gordo with apologies. He promised not to bother them anymore. Gordo justified his deception with the house by saying he was ashamed of not achieving anything in life. He just hoped to leave the past behind and start anew. In the evening after reading the letter, Simon didn't entirely believe in Gordo's sincerity. Robin suspected that there was a conflict between Simon and Gordo in school, but Simon denied it. Robin began suffering from nightmares and paranoia. She feels like Gordo is stalking her. Meanwhile, Simon was completely absorbed in his work. The superiors hinted that he was up for a promotion. However, there was another candidate, Danny McDonald. Robin's paranoia worsened. She would startle at any noise. She couldn't shake the feeling that there was someone else in the house. At some point, Robin began to feel unwell and fainted. She woke up already in the morning. Simon, who found her sleeping pills, demanded an explanation. Before moving, Robin, struggling with depression, had been abusing it. They moved specifically to start a new life in a new place. Robin admitted that the guilt she felt towards Gordo was preventing her from living peacefully. She felt like he could come to their house at any moment and cause harm. Therefore, in her opinion, they should apologize to him. However, Simon has no intention of doing so, as it was Gordo, not them, who lied and stole the dog. It would be better if he never appeared in their lives again, especially since his letter put an end to it. Now they have to leave the past behind and move forward, despite any difficulties. Robin managed to pull herself together. Life seemed to be getting better. On Christmas, Robin gave her husband a special gift, a positive pregnancy test. Both of them were overjoyed as they had long dreamed of having a family. The nursery is already set up. Robin is enjoying her pregnancy. One day when she and Lucy were at a clothing store, Lucy noticed that a strange guy was looking at Robin. It was Gordo. Robin wanted to talk to him, but he quickly left. The Colem's house hosted a party in honor of the upcoming baby. Everyone congratulated Robin, who felt anxious the whole time but tried to hide it. Later she learned from Joan, Simon's sister, that in school everyone used to tease Gordo after one guy gotten him in his car. It was Simon and his friend Greg who saved Gordo from that guy, but they also blabbed it to everyone. This came as an unpleasant surprise to Robin. She reread Gordo's letter again. When she was with her husband, she tried to act as if nothing had happened. While Simon was at work, Robin went through his room and found Gordo's personal file. It turned out that he had repeatedly had legal troubles and had been discharged from the army for indecent behavior. Robin doesn't understand why her husband requested Gordo's file but didn't tell her about it. Lucy advised her to talk to Simon, but Robin first intends to find Greg Pearson, who was also involved in bullying Gordo. Finding out that Greg Pearson is a doctor, Robin made an appointment with him. Of course, it was just an excuse. Robin confessed that she was here because of Gordo Muesli. Greg said that the story about the car, the guy and Gordo was a lie. Simon being a bully made it up, practically ruining Gordo's life. Since then, everyone started mocking him, and Gordo also had problems with his father because of this story. Robin can't stop thinking about it, while her husband is only interested in his career. Danny McDonald, by the way, has been prosecuted, so Simon has no more competitors. That evening, Robin revealed to her husband that she knows the truth. However, Simon didn't want to discuss it because it had been 25 years since then. In his opinion, Gordo gave everyone a reason to mock him, and he remained a loser. Simon had no intention of apologizing to Gordo, but the wife continued to insist that he should. Not for Gordo, but for themselves. After calming down a bit, Simon admitted to his wife that shortly after Gordo's letter he had found threatening notes on the windshield of the car. After that, Simon contacted a lawyer and requested a restraining order. Robin realized that she didn't really know her husband. He really wants to make it up to her, but Robin doesn't need his apologies. Gordo is the one who needs it. Overcoming his pride, Simon finally tracked down Gordo and asked for forgiveness. However, Gordo said it was too late. Realizing that his former classmate wasn't willing to accept his apologies, Simon got angry and humiliated him once again. Simon believes that Gordo is to blame for who he has become. At home, Robin asked her husband how it went. Simon lied that Gordo was very grateful for the apologies. The spouses finally reconciled. Soon, there was a party in their house to celebrate Simon's promotion. Everyone congratulated Simon, who had achieved everything on his own. Suddenly there was a pop. A few seconds later, someone smashed the glass. The guests were frightened. While someone called the police, Simon went outside with a baseball bat. Some guy tried to escape, but Simon caught him. It turned out to be Danny McDonald, who had recently lost his job. Danny accused Simon of setting him up. To everyone's surprise, Simon agreed to let Danny go. At that moment, Robin, who had been nervous, started having contractions. Simon, very worried about his wife, was present during the childbirth. They had a healthy son. Simon was very happy as he had longed to become a father. However, this joy was tainted by something. The superiors found out that the documents against Danny McDonald had been fabricated, and fired Simon. Lucy came to the hospital to support her friend. Robin felt very exhausted. Simon still hadn't confessed to her about being fired. He didn't expect to hear from Robin that she didn't want to return to that house with him. Simon decided that his wife needed time to think it over and left. On the doorstep of the house, Simon found another gift, which was not a good sign. Meanwhile, Gordo visited the hospital with a bouquet of flowers. Attached to the gift was a congratulatory card for the birth of the baby. While Robin was asleep, Gordo entered her ward. In the box, Simon found a baby carrier and a key to their own home. Gordo watched sleeping Robin for a long time, while Simon unpacked a disc with an audio recording. It turned out that when he and Robin were visiting Gordo, he recorded all their conversations in his absence. Upon seeing Gordo, awakened Robin got scared. Gordo simply congratulated her and handed her a bouquet. Among other things, Simon found a video in the gift. It turned out that 9 months ago, Gordo had added a sleeping pill to Robin's drink. Seeing Gordo's bruises, Robin guessed that Simon had done it. Meanwhile, he saw on the video how Gordo had entered their house while Robin was unconscious. The video cuts off at that point. Throughout all this time, Gordo was wearing a monkey mask that Simon had been so afraid of since childhood. Looking at all this, he couldn't contain his emotions. Gordo told Robin how genuinely happy he was for her. Simon grabbed the car keys and rushed to the hospital, simultaneously trying to call his wife, but she didn't answer the phone. Robin was no longer in the ward. In the corridor, Simon saw Gordo from a distance, but he managed to hide from him. A few seconds later, Simon received a call from him. Gordo, looking at Simon from the window, never answered the question of whether he was the father of the child. Gordo only advised Simon to look into the child's eyes. That way he would understand. Simon was going to do just that, but Robin, completely disillusioned with her husband, refused to show the child to him. Once, Simon turned Gordo's life into a living hell, but now they have switched roles. Simon is left without a job, his marriage is ruined. He cries helplessly in the hospital corridor, unaware that Gordo is watching him. In the final scene, we see Gordo leaving, removing the bandage from his hand. He faked a fracture to make it look more dramatic in Robin's eyes. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel not to miss more exciting new products. Also, the authors will be pleased if you leave your opinion in the comments.